Hi, my name's Sarah and I live in Island Bay, Wellington in a 1925 bungalow on a quite small section. So when we moved here 3 years ago, I wanted to compost, as I had been, but I thought a compost bin would actually take up too much space. So I decided to get a can of worms worm farm. I'd like to show you a little bit about what's inside my worm farm. So lifting the lid, I've put wet newspaper on top of the worm farm to keep the fruit flies down and also to keep the worms a bit damp and to shade them. The top layer has got recently cut up food scraps. You can see if you dig down a little bit, the worms are just underneath the top surface. There's a lovely handful of them there. So that's the top layer. And that's where the worms are active and eating the food. They eat up to their own body weight in food every day. The next layer is the more processed worm castings. You can see the eggshells, if they're not really well crushed up, they actually don't break down particularly well. And this is actually still quite rich in worms. Some of the worms are in here just continuing to process this until it's really fine, really nutritious. When it starts to get so that it looks really like fine crumbly soil, it's ready for putting on your garden. It's just got a little bit more, I think, for the worms to do. Notice there's a tap down there at the bottom of the worm farm, and what happens is the moisture that's in the worm farm filters down through all the layers and collects lots of nutrients. And so the liquid that's down on the very bottom layer, which is known as worm tea or worm juice or sometimes worm wee, it's really nutritious and really good to put on your garden. And usually after I've emptied out my scraps, I actually collect a little bit, so I'll do that now. This worm juice is quite strong, so I'll just add a little bit of water. Now I'm going to take this around the garden and have fun putting it on some of my plants. Today is rubbish day, and this is our rubbish for the week. Before I started composting, recycling and using the worm farm, this bag would always be completely full. Rubbish in our street goes to the southern landfill, so by doing all these things I'm making a small contribution to not filling up that landfill as fast. Our family actually eats quite a lot of vegetables, so I would probably fill this little container up about 3/4 full every single day. It's good to chop your vegetables, just make sure they're small sizes. You can put just about anything in there that's green or plant-based. Things not to put in are lots of citrus, raw onion and animal and dairy products. And I keep this just under the sink, so it's actually pretty handy. And there you go, voila.